Before today, I really didn't know much about North Carolina. After today, I know more than enough. The main thing I learned is that I will never be visiting that scary state. Today we're counting down the top 10 terrifying places in North Carolina you should never visit. I'm your host Maddie, and I want to know in the comments below if you would ever / have you ever visited any of these places. Let's get into it. Coming in at number 10, the Devil's Tramping Ground. This scary site is located about 10 miles from Siler City in Chatham County, North Carolina. The Devil's Tramping Ground is a strange footpath that forms a circle 40 feet in diameter. Locals claim that this is where Satan himself walks to contemplate his evil deeds. The path is completely free of vegetation, and the only thing that will grow inside of the ring is tough clumps of grass. Apparently even sticks left in the pathway are cleared away by the following morning. There are a few other stories of where the circle may have come from. Some folks claim that the area was a meeting for Cherokee people who made the circle bear with dances. Others link the site to the lost colony of Roanoke, and scientists have tried to explain it as being a former molasses mill. Whatever you think may be the case, visitors have claimed to see red glowing eyes in the circle. If that doesn't sound evil, I don't know what else could. If it is the devil's place to think, he sure does do a lot of thinking. I wonder why this spot in particular. There is a scenic byway named Devil's Tramping Ground Road, and it's free to travel, but the actual site is currently located on private property. Number 9, Paint Rock. You can find this location near the Tennessee border and the small town of Hot Springs. Paint Rock is considered one of the most haunted places in North Carolina. It has been a landmark for eons, and it features one of the best examples of Native American pictographs in the state. There is a figure of a lone Cherokee man that has been seen walking through the forest near Paint Rock, but that's not the scary part. What makes this one of the most haunted places is more about the famous body of water it overlooks. Legend has it that singing maidens there have lured many men to their demise. These maidens sound like something straight out of Harry Potter, and I'd love to know what it is that lured the men in. Do we think they sang, gave them an offer they couldn't refuse, or did they just put these unlucky men into a trance? So many things I'd love to know about the maidens without going anywhere near the water. You can still visit Paint Rock today and check out the Native American history, but I think I'll stick to Google Images personally. Number 8, Demon Dog. Located in the small Blue Ridge mountain town of Valle Criscus, which is Latin for Valley of the Cross, because the town has two streams that meet at right angles in the middle of the valley. Close by there's an old stone church that sits near Highway 184. According to the legend, if you drive past the church's graveyard at night, of course it's at night, a black dog will jump out from behind a gravestone and start chasing your car. I don't know about you all, but for me, being chased is immediately 100 times scarier. Apparently, no matter how fast you drive, the dog will keep pace. There are many stories of people being chased by the dog. In some, it has red eyes, in other, it has yellow, but the thing that remains the same in every story is that the only way to get the dog to stop chasing you is if you cross the bridge nearby where the two streams cross. This is not an official tourist attraction like some others on the list, but the cemetery is free to visit in case you wanted to test out the story yourself. At number 7, the Duke Mansion. This terrifying site is located in Charlotte's Myers Park neighborhood. The Duke Mansion was built in 1915 as the home for James Duke of Duke University and Duke Energy. However, the property was briefly owned by John Avery in the 1920s, which is when the paranormal happening reportedly began. The story starts after Avery's wife was hospitalized for severe mental health issues. The lonely John began renting a room to a young writer, Maggie, who he, shocker, ended up falling in love with. However, Avery refused to leave his wife, resulting in Maggie to break off their affair. Before Maggie left, Avery was able to get her to promise to meet him at the home 1 year later, dead or alive. So a year later, Maggie showed up and waited until it was almost midnight when a flash of lightning illuminated a figure of a man watching her from the window, so Maggie rushed in the door. The house appeared to be empty, but she made her way to the library. Just as the clock struck 12, she heard footsteps on the staircase, and Avery appeared just in time. As the two reached out for one another, his hand went right through hers. Avery then said, "Dead or alive." It turned out that Avery had actually passed a few days earlier, and a letter revealed him worried if he would be able to make it to the meeting. Very cute, but still super haunted. Number 6, the Great Dismal Swamp. Just with the name alone, you know this place isn't going to have a nice backstory. The Great Dismal Swamp encompasses more than 100,000 acres acres straddling the boundary of North Carolina and Virginia. It was home to Native Americans over 13,000 years ago, and George Washington tried to convert the wetlands into farmlands. Though pretty, the swamp is dangerous and spooky. Along with the wild animals, including snakes, the swamp is deep and hard to get out of. Many have drowned in the water, and mysterious lights have been seen in the forest gliding over the water. Hunters have even lost bears and deers, claiming they disappeared without a trace. The most famous tale from the swamp, however, is that of two Native American lovers. The woman passed before they could wed and was buried in the swamp. The man later drowned because he swore he could see his love in a white canoe. Now the pair can reportedly be seen from time to time paddling on Lake Drummond together. It sounds like this swamp holds far more than just a poor couple, and I think I'm okay without knowing. At number 5, Cedar Grove Cemetery. The Cedar Grove Cemetery, located in New Bern, was established in 1800 in response to the yellow fever epidemic, already starting off strong in the creepy department. Apparently, during the epidemic, so many people passed that at night trenches were dug in the churchyard in a line near the adjoining property, and the bodies were buried there indiscriminately. That sounds like the perfect recipe for a lot of forgotten and angry spirits looking for revenge. Then after 1802, the cemetery became the major New Bern burial ground. Now the cemetery holds North Carolina's most influential citizens from the 19th and 20th century. The thing Cedar Grove may be best known for is the looming black entrance arch. Legend has it that if the arch weeps or bleeds its sticky rust-colored ooze, I have to add that is how it was described in the article I read, and I mean, what a description. If you get oozed on by the arch, apparently you will soon be the one needing a spot to be buried. I don't know what the sticky rust-colored ooze could be coming from a stone arch, other than some powerful supernatural stuff, so I think I'll definitely never be going there ever at all. At number 4, the Grove Park Inn. Considered the frightful jewel of the haunted Asheville, North Carolina, the Grove Park Inn has one guest that requires no checkout. The most famous apparition is called the Pink Lady. Although the ghost remains unidentified, it's believed that she was a young woman who fell 5 stories from room 545 to the Palm Court atrium back in 1920. According to the many stories of guests encountering the Pink Lady, it seems to me she's not a shy girl. One contractor who was repairing the room felt a presence. This gave him the chills, but his last straw was when he felt a tugging on his ear. Apparently he ran out of the room scared and never returned. Now that construction worker knows what's up. Any character in a horror movie needs to be more like him. Since then, many guests have reported encounters with the Pink Lady, most of which involve being touched by her. Oh, so the Grove Park Inn can quite literally make my nightmares come true. The general consensus seems to be that she is gentle, but I don't know, gentle or not, she's still a ghost touching me. Number 3, the Biltmore Estate. After a young George Washington Vanderbilt visited Asheville, North Carolina, his mother fell in love with the surrounding mountains. The historic estate was then built in the late 1800s on approximately 125,000 acres of land purchased by Vanderbilt. He established an impressive art and artifact collection and a library full of rare editions. In 1914 he passed, and his grandsons immediately inherited the estate, which they then turned into a tourist attraction. During his life, Vanderbilt loved to spend time in his Biltmore library when storms rolled in, and apparently he continues to enjoy it in his afterlife. Visitors of the estate have reported seeing a shadowy figure in the room when the weather turns gloomy. Even as a ghost, he still had style. Only coming out in the gloomy weather adds to the spookiness of it all. He's not the only one who still enjoys the house. The ghost of his wife Edith is also known to visit her husband there, with many guests reporting hearing her whisper George. Staff members have also said that the Biltmore Library is one of the most haunted places in all of North Carolina. They've heard eerie sounds of a party with clinking glasses, laughter, and echoing music. I personally try to avoid ghost parties, but it's good to know where not to go. Number 2, Teach's Hole. This haunted spot is located in the Outer Banks of North Carolina on Ocracoke Island, which is riddled with spooky stories. The most famous one, however, is Teach's Hole. Ocracoke Island was the home and the final resting place, kind of the pirate Blackbeard, whose real name was Edward Teach. He was known as a great intimidator, leading people to raise their white flags just at the sight of him. Teach did eventually hang up his pirate hat and pledge allegiance to the Queen, but in 1718 he was beheaded by Lieutenant Robert Maynard of the British Royal Navy. Maynard was sent by the governor of Virginia, who was not convinced the famous pirate was really willing to give up the criminal lifestyle. Now it is said that Blackbeard haunts the land near where his body was tossed into the sea, also known as the Point. People have reported seeing Blackbeard pacing the shoreline looking for his missing head. And at number 1, Lydia's Bridge. Every article I read about Lydia's Bridge started out with, if you grew up in Jamestown, you know the story of Lydia. After reading the story, yeah, how could you not know about it? It's horrifying. terrifying. So the story goes that a pretty hitchhiker in a white dress flags drivers down near the old Jamestown Bridge and then asks for a ride. Now the first time I read this, I thought it was the lore of how the woman passed, but no, the hitchhiker that asks for a ride is the ghost. Apparently she quietly gets into their cars, tells them to take her home, and then vanishes. Are you kidding me? If I picked up a hitchhiker that turned out to be a ghost, I'd be out. Absolutely not. The spirit known as Lydia has been spotted on rainy, foggy nights as she walks alone or stands beside the road searching for help. The ghost is believed to be that of a young woman who passed away in a tragic car accident at the bridge many decades ago. The most commonly told story of Lydia's passing is that the fatal car accident occurred when a boy and a girl drove to a dance, maybe even the prom, on a rainy night. But sorry Lydia, I don't have room for another passenger. That was the top 10 terrifying places in North Carolina you should never visit. I know I never will. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.